Hello, everybody. Welcome to Todd's Pod this week. I know we've been absent a little bit, but we're getting a new meeting place ready to open up, and it should be opened up really soon. I'll give you more information about that down the road. Um, I have a gentleman with me today. His name's Kevin. He's in long-term recovery. What that means for him is he hasn't used any mind-altering substances in 15, well, almost 15 years. We got a few days to go. Come on in here, Kevin. Let's get going. I'm a hugger, not a shaker too. So it's good to see you.
Good seeing you, Todd.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, Kevin. Doing well. It's good to see you. So I like to start out with a little story. So Kevin and I met a while back. When I first got sober, I got a job at a place, and it was an interesting job because I was working with individuals that weren't necessarily in recovery yet, and a very high need population. Wasn't sure exactly how I could handle that or how I would reconcile that with my own recovery. Kevin assured me that he felt like that I could do it and I could do it pretty good. And so he has been pivotal in my ability to learn how to deal with people and how to help people that don't necessarily, they're not quite ready, but they know they need something. They're just not sure what it is. And I don't know how many times Kevin had to call me off, talk me down from a ledge because I would get on that edge like, oh my God, how can we? Oh my God, he'd be like, this. And so I learned a special kind of compassion by watching you, Kevin. And you taught me a lot to how to do things and how to be compassionate in a loving, accountable way. So tell us about yourself, Kevin.
All right. Kevin Longhenny, born and raised in Fredericksburg, Texas, which is now wine country. Before it was wine country, it was German drinking community.
Boone's Farm.
Boone's Farm. Yeah. Yeah, it was before that. So alcohol was always very accepted in Fredericksburg. So growing up, I started drinking, I'd say about 13, 15, 16, maybe drinking on a regular weekend basis. And then graduated in 1989. And my best friend, who was my first friend in kindergarten, was my best friend when we graduated. 6-7 months after we graduated, he died in a car accident, drinking involved car accident. And my alcoholism spiraled from there. I felt like I was lied to. You're told all through school that after you graduate, it's a new beginning, it's life's out there for you to go get, and they took my best friend's life. My best friend's life was gone. So I pretty much turned to alcohol during all of that. Then fast forward to 1998, a good friend of mine who I hadn't seen in a while, she kind of moved off to Austin. I hadn't seen her in a while. I got the news that she died of a morphine overdose. And so now I'm drinking like vodka, wake up in the morning, drink vodka, pass out, wake up, drink vodka. It's tearing my body away. I started getting suicidal, ended up going to a rehab. Did the 30 days in the rehab, felt good, got out, and I want to say maybe a week, 2 weeks later, find out my dad has lung cancer. Start taking him to his appointments in San Antonio, and it was a very short battle. By the time all of this came up, it spread to his brain. They had to operate to remove a tumor from his brain, and he ended up dying. Audie Murphy. So there I go, man. To be honest, I relapsed like 2 weeks prior to him dying. I'd already started drinking because it was a little bit too much for me to take. And full blast again. And then in January 27th, 1990, January 27th, 1999, 9 years after my best friend to the day passed away, I did my first line of cocaine. As a person who loved to drink, cocaine just allowed me to drink more and more. It gave me this when I first started using it, man, I thought I was on top of the world. Like I came out of my shell.
The big ass on your chest, right?
Yeah. I'm on a dance floor
Yeah.
dancing, I'm talking to women I wouldn't talk to before, man. It's almost kind of like the Starsky and Hutch movie when he accidentally does a cocaine and then goes to the disco.
Yeah.
I'm like all of that, but it didn't take long for that stuff to grab hold of me. And then it was just basically go down that long road, suicide attempt, quit for a little bit. My niece was born in January of 2000, and I had a 96 Mustang, and that was the Mustang that I took my dad to Artie Murphy with. And on the highway from Fredericksburg to San Antonio, 87, I closed down a bar. I'd been drinking. I had about an 18 back. Closed down a bar, and I drove down that highway. I turned around, put on the Minnie McCready song, "You'll Never Know." Turned down the windows, took off my seatbelt, hit about 80 miles an hour on a straightaway, and just jerked the wheel. Rolled car, get thrown out of the car, drug through cactus. Wake up, face down next to the car, stereo still playing, the song's still playing. And I get up and I look, I was like, where the hell am I? I didn't know where I was at. And so I just laid back down. And then I heard like real loud like cars. Poof. I was like, oh man, that's the police. I might as well just face the music and go flag the cop down, tell him what I did, everything like that. Police officer had a lot of compassion. He's like, the EMS came just to check me out. I didn't need to go, you know. He's like, I'm not even gonna put the cuffs on you. So I think you're having a rough enough time as it is. He drives me, he books me into jail for a public intoxication instead of a DWI. He's like, I'm the only reason I'm booking you for a public intoxication so we could safely hold you until we get to you see a mental health provider. So that happens, go through that, I quit drinking for like 3-something months, relapse again. And then I just never came back from that. I just kept on relapsing. My mom ended up passing away in 2006. That just made it worse. Then I started getting in trouble with the law. I get 2 DWIs and a possession of cocaine charge in a week's time.
Mm.
And now I'm on probation, so that restricts all of my stuff in a small town.
Right.
You know, so I end up getting caught the day that I signed probation on my felony probation. I believe it was either that day or the next day. I get caught in the bar drinking a beer. I'm having a fun time, and I honestly I've never quit drinking, never quit doing what I was doing, but I did quit going to the bars. But that day I actually did go to the bar. He doesn't believe it, but that was actually God's honest truth. First time I went to a bar. And I'm drinking, I'm having a good time. I'm seeing people I hadn't seen in a while. And I stepped out the door and I looked, it's like, man, there's a county cop out there. It's like, that's weird. What are they doing there? I was double fisted, man. I finished the one I had, threw it in the trash can, and I walked in. And as soon as I'm taking to take another one, tap on the shoulder, look over, and he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh man. He's upset. He doesn't have me arrested on the spot. He tells me to get a cab, go home, we'll talk about it. Sends me to an outpatient rehab. Outpatient rehab, I'm still doing the same thing. I'm not planning on quitting at this time.
So what popped into my head when you were talking about the bar and the county cop, I was thinking about that song. Have you heard the song Bartender?
Yeah.
I love that song. But anyway, I just, not to interrupt, but I just wanted you to know, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I've been there. I've done that kind of thing. Hey,
Yeah.
fill me up, buddy, because
Yeah, that was like, I mean, later on when I think about all of these things, I see how everything kind of happened for the reason
Right.
it did, right? So I'm in this outpatient rehab, and I'm not changing my ways. I am trying to quit doing the cocaine though. I'm trying my best on that one. And it was a Friday, I was at a friend's house, cocaine broke out, I did one line, and I was like, man, I gotta get out of here. So because the rehab was on a Tuesday. I was like, I need to get out of here, or so I'm gonna be still awake on Sunday if I get UA'd on that Tuesday, whatever. So I left, I went with some friends that just drank and did all of that. Get to that rehab on Tuesday and they UA'd me. And I failed. And I was always told 3 days out of your system, but it doesn't go out of your system in 3 days.
sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Yeah. But again, I
I
think
drink a lot of water with that. Yeah.
yeah, and I did, because I did water well service, so I always sweat it. But the Monday and the Tuesday of that deal, we just weren't out working. I don't know if it was raining that weekend or whatever, but we weren't out there working. I wasn't sweating it out. But again, it was all part of it, all part of it. So I failed that UA. Then I don't show up to my probation because I'm like, oh man, I don't even want to face this. But then I was so paranoid. I was like, that's not the right thing. So I called him and he's like, hey, just come in, let's talk about it. So he started trying to get me to go to Safe P. And I was like, I don't know anything about Safe P, just from people that I hung around with that were doing the same thing I was doing, saying, nah, Safe P just teaches you how to be a snitch and blah, 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 whatever. So I was like, no, absolutely, I'm not going to Safe P. I just want to be locked up, get this out of my way. And I was planning on just going back and doing the same thing I always was doing. And he's like, what about if we get you into a rehab, a dual diagnosis rehab? I was like, okay, now that sounds more like it. That sounds like something I can do. And didn't know that it took a long time to find one of these rehabs. So I think that was in like November. We're in January, no revote, I haven't been arrested yet. February, March, April, then we're in May, and I'm like, I'm tired of looking over my shoulder at this time, because it affected, like, I didn't want to be in a work vehicle and then pulling over the work vehicle and arresting me for the revocation. And the probation officer is saying he's not going to do that, but you never know how police officers do it. I was like, man, that's not fair for my boss. They didn't do anything. I did all of this on my own. It's not fair for them to get thrown under the mud. So anyways, just wasn't happening. And I just like, my will to live was just down. So I'm drinking a beer next to this ratty travel trailer that my boss lent me money to buy. I hadn't paid on much yet, if I paid anything on it. And I'm looking at this ratty travel trailer, just thinking about my niece and nephew and just how far down I came. And I was like, man, I don't want them to grow up seeing an uncle like this. So water well service, we had this really long rope that you could be on top of a windmill and pull tools up. So I'm sitting here drinking, my travel trailer's right here. There's a gooseneck trailer right underneath the tree. So I go grab that rope, I wrap it around. It's got the little latches on there, latch that one off, throw it up over the tree, put some music on. I had my Gary Allen Living Hard shirt on because I felt like that kind of defined my life. And I'm like, okay, man. So I have all of my mental health medications. I had I can't remember exactly how much, but it was a lot of Zoloft. And so I want to say it was like 2,300 milligrams or something like that. And so I just handful, chug it down with beer, got all of the medications down. I lived behind where I worked. I didn't want the person. There was a really cool dude that always came in earlier in the morning, and where I was hanging myself at was direct side of coming in, driving in the back. I didn't want any of them to find me. So I throw that over. I take all the medications. I finish my beer. I call 911 and say, bring a hearse because I'll be dead by the time you get here. And I hung up. Debated about it a little bit, had the thing around there, and the last thing I remember is kind of like staggering and reaching my hands up. So I don't know exactly what time that was. That was a Thursday night. I would say around maybe 8 o'clock. I want to say that it was maybe a little bit later because I want to say it was starting to get dark if it wasn't dark already. But anyways, next thing I know, I wake up in the University Hospital at 8 o'clock in the morning. The nurse is like, oh, you're finally waking up. And I'm looking around. I'm like, where am I? What happened? And then everything started coming to me of what did. And it was just like this, I don't know, man, it's a weird feeling. I just had this feeling kind of come through me. And I thought about my brother because it's just me and him. Like, I mean, he has his wife and family, but it was my mom, dad, me and him. So like, if I die, I'm the last person out of that part of the family that he has anymore. And I was like, you know what, this is enough. Like, okay, this is enough. And I just remember praying, it's like, God, lead me down a path where I could help other people.
Right.
You know, and that was my thing right there. And I always laugh. I was like, he did exactly what I asked him to do, but he sent me the hard way.
Since the heart.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a question real quick, Kevin. So back to the suicide attempt, okay? Because I, like you, have done the same thing. I was at the end of my rope, you know, and it's over and done, and the world's got everything they need from me. I'm done, right? It sounds like we had a common thought, and that was we did not think about anybody but ourselves. And it wasn't until after the fact, looking back, like you were talking about your brother, that I'm like, oh my God, what would I have done to my family?
Yeah.
It never, in the moment, we don't think about it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one thing I think that people that commit suicide, I think that's something that probably is pretty common, because people I talk to, just like you, that they mention that, you know, I didn't think about my brother, I didn't think about that. And it's just strange that.
But the weird thing is I was thinking about my niece and nephew.
Really?
You know, I was thinking about them, about how I
that.
didn't want them
Right.
to see it. And the first suicide attempt, my niece was a little baby, you know, and, you know, I just remember it's like, not like, I love my niece and nephew, my brother and sister-in-law, I love them to death. But I just remember it's like, man, I don't want to see this, you know? And so it was really weird. But,
Didn't mean to take you off track.
yeah, no,
Let's go
not
back
at all.
to
Yeah, no, but you
the hard road.
have the right thing, is you don't think about all of those things. But I always say an irrational mind doesn't think about it.
No, it doesn't, right. And you're not rational at that point.
Yeah, you're
No
not.
doubt.
You're not.
So he took you down the hard road.
Yeah, so he took me down a hard road, so there I am. I spent the however many days in ICUs, and then I was in a private room, or not a private room, a regular hospital room, until they could get me into the psych ward. Got into the psych ward, was there for like 5 days, something like that. Come back, I'm with my brother and sister-in-law, staying with them, niece and nephew. And next thing I know, and this is like, man, it's like, all of this helped me stay sober though, out of all of this. Because I mean, I'm fresh sober. We all know how many times we wake up and we feel good and we're like, okay, this is enough. And then we start feeling really good and we're like, I can do it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, my little nephew, I helped him put together his toy that fell apart and stuff like that. He's like, man, Uncle K, having you around is like having a second dad. And later that evening, knock on the door, sheriff's department. They finally revoked my probation, the suicide attempt.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, boom, they're like, okay, we're gonna lock him up where we know he's safe.
Right.
So there I am, I'm in jail now, and I'm probation revoked. At that point, you know, I'm like, okay, now I'm a felon, and I'm thinking I'm in jail with all these other people that don't really have any desire to change. And I'm thinking, it's like, why should I even change now? And that was kind of getting to be my mindset a little bit. It's like, well, if I'm gonna be a felon, I might as well just continue doing what am I gonna be able to do with my life? And then my family, my brother and his family, they came to see me. And my nephew was little, and he couldn't understand that when they were leaving that I couldn't go home with them. And I just remember seeing him cry.
Right.
You know, he was just crying because he didn't understand. And I think for the first time in my life, I looked at my addiction and how it affected other people. You know, I was like, here's just an innocent kid,
Right.
you know, and he's crying because he doesn't understand the mistakes I made and understand why I have to do what I have to do. And they got me into a rehab, and it was a good rehab in Lubbock. Man, I really was getting a lot out of it. I was finally getting counseling, I was learning cognitive behavioral therapy, I was learning all of these things, but I got put on a medication, and I never knew how to feel sober, because I was never sober when I took my mental health medications before, really. So I didn't really know how to feel, and the doctor increased it, and I got extremely paranoid. I started thinking everybody was against me, and I had some friends in there, but I was like not really easy person to be around. And only way, because it was a court-ordered rehab, the only way that you can get to a psych ward from there was a suicide attempt. So, in my irrational mind, there, I'm clean and sober off of drugs and alcohol, but this medication has me really, my mind speeding up where it shouldn't be.
Right.
And so I get my shoestrings, I tie them together, I wrap them around, tie them around the bunk, take my feet on the end of it and pull it tight, and next thing you know, they're coming and get me, and I go, I get on a better medication, I feel good. They come pick me up, but instead of taking the right to go to the rehab, they flip the left, and I'm going to at that time, it was a pretty new Lubbock County jail. And there I go, it's like, no, you can't go back to the rehab. And now I'm really defeated, because I was like, man, that's the help that I needed. So I do week in Lubbock County jail before Gillespie County comes and gets me, and come back, and they're like, okay, well, it's gonna be whatever it's gonna be now. We have no other plans for you. The rehab didn't work, so now you're just gonna have to go through the court system. So I do the court system. My probation officer was cool, man. He had everything that I told him, because I was playing cat and mouse with him, because I would fail a UA if he UA'd me, but I would tell him I drank. Because who's gonna go tell their probation officer they drank? He never UA'd me, but he did write down every time I drank. And the judge is like, well, we got to document it here. You drank here, you drank here, you drank here. But the only failed UA I had was the outpatient rehab. And the probation officer stepped up and he's like, I feel like he's on the right path. Let's just give him the minimum time. And the judge listened to him. So they gave me 6 months. I was locked up altogether 9, but they don't count the time that you're in the rehab. So I had roughly maybe a week, 2 weeks that I had to do, but when I was in Gillespie County, I was a trustee, so I washed cars and almost burned a jail down cooking. But anyways, so I'm going, and the sergeant of the jail, he's like, what's going on, Lockheed? What did they tell you? I was like, well, I got to go back to, I guess, back to Bandera for a couple of weeks, and then I'll have my time served. He's like, wow, we get to decide that. You watched enough police cars. And he went and called my sister-in-law. She came and picked me up, and then I'm out there, but I'm a felon in a small town with a reputation of being a person, because y'all had known me back then. Y'all had known, I was out there, man. I was making a fool out of myself quite a bit. Well, I was having fun, but but the reputation, all of that, I could not find a job. So I'm at my mental health provider, and the guy just toured. I don't know if I can say it.
Can't say the name of the place. We talk about the campus community that we love so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just toured this campus community that we do love so much. I personally love it so much. He's like, every place needs a place. Every community needs a place like this. He said, they'll help you.
Yep.
They'll provide you a place to stay. They'll help you get work. They'll help you do this. They'll help you get into housing. And so it just got frustrating. I couldn't find work. I owed everybody money. I owed fines, all of this stuff from my addiction. And finally, it just came to the point where I got into an argument with my family. It wasn't nothing major, but it was an argument, And I really didn't have a place. I didn't have a plan B from there. I went to the jail and was like, hey, I'm gonna sleep underneath the bridge. And they're like, no, don't do that. He's like, well, give me a ride. So they gave me a ride over to the mental health provider. We got on the phone and we called this community, and they said, I guarantee you won't sleep outside tonight. Cool. I was like, hey, that's good enough for me. Yeah. So my best friend, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but he's like, okay, man, it's like, doesn't sound too good to me, but if that's what you want, I'll take you over there. And so they took me over there. I was doing some yard work for a guy, so I had a little bit of money. So I got a motel close to the place. Next morning, I walked around there, and I was scared, man. And I was like, I went back, and I got the hotel for one more day. And then I was like, at the end of that day, I was like, I have no place to go. So I walked over there, and it was culture shock for me. I walk in there. Things were a lot different back then, especially one side of the campus. Right. And I walk in there, I was like, you know what? This is where I need to be, though. This is where I need to be. The person who did my intake showed me such compassion. I just felt like, I was like, if everybody's as compassionate as her, this is where I need to be. I talked to my brother, and my brother was like, hey, this place called. I think they'll hire you if you want to come back. You can come back. And, you live with us and get that job and everything like that. And I do like working in social services, you get frustrated when your clients don't really listen to the advice you give. But I actually remember my counselor in Lubbock say, sometimes you have to change places and people you're around. And I just had this feeling that I was at the right place. So I told him, I was like, thank you, but I really think I'm at the right place. I think I need to figure out how to do this on my own.
Mhm.
And I stayed and, came up. I was there for a while, started going to school. Job came open at the community we loved, and I got a job there and been helping people ever since. So I always laugh. It's like, I asked God to lead me to a place where I could help others. And he took me, and I was like, I didn't necessarily say you needed to go down that road, but it was a road that helped me remember how at times how good I had it and how bad I had it and how things are better. You're always going to have those struggles, whether you have drugs or alcohol in your life, no matter what. But how do you respond to things and how you receive things is a lot better for me anyways, without the drugs and alcohol.
Well, one thing that you taught me, because, I full disclosure, I got culture shock there too at one point, but I like you, I didn't really have a lot of other alternatives. There were alternatives, I could have found things, but it was like, anyway, but yeah, I also found an amazing place there. They loved me when I didn't love myself, and they continued to love me until I loved myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't think I liked people at all, really. And it was there that I learned that, wait a minute, maybe I do. And then, like you, I got a job there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you taught me, I remember, I don't know if you're the one that actually told me this, but somebody, but I remember learning early on. So I tell all the new people that I meet that work there, I tell them, hey, you know what? Every day when you go home, when you lay your head down, you help save a life.
Yeah.
Period. I don't care what you did today. I don't care if you're the guy cleaning the bathroom. I don't care if you're the person cooking the food, or if you're the person just the whatever your role is there. Everybody that works there can lay their head down and know, you know what, I helped save a life today.
Yeah.
It's amazing and this watch, I remember, I can't think of his name, but there was one guy, man, he was going to take me out and bash my head with a rock and just kill you.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
That was a major deal. This guy hated me hard. But I think that's the one that I learned that it wasn't me.
Yeah.
He was having a mental health moment. Yeah. And by going through that, and him and I get along great now, by the way. But, he still struggles, but I mean, we get along. But the thing is, I learned, I think that was really, working in that dorm taught me that it's not about me. These people are going through it, and I am a safe outlet for them, and that's why that happens. And if I hadn't worked in your dorm in the beginning like that, I don't think I would be as good as, not that I'm great at my job, but I wouldn't be as good at my job as I am. Anybody that doesn't know what campus community we're talking about, figure it out, because it's a great place. It's a great place, and it will literally, we do change lives.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. Will you close the door for me? Thank you. Have a great day. Okay. I forgot to close the door.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, I forgot to close the door. I guess I figured that out. But I did that 1 week too. I do that a lot. I told you to close the door. So Kevin, today, I know that you have progressed far in there, and what you do now is allows you to help even more people, and I truly enjoy working with you. I look forward to working with you in the future in other projects and other ways. But when Kevin wakes up in the morning, I know that in our addictions, when we wake up, I know what that's like. What's it like being Kevin when you wake up in the morning today?
One, I know if I don't feel good, I don't feel good because it's allergies or I'm sick or something like that. It's not any substances I put in. But if it's a week, it's not even if it's a day that I'm going to work. I just tell myself, just do the best you can today.
Mm-hmm.
No high expectations, and I always laugh with the younger ones coming in because they're coming in and they're wanting to save the world. I'm like, okay, if the world could be saved, I think we would have saved it already because we came in with the same mindset, you know? But I just like, let's just go out there and do the best we can today and let's just have grace with people, you know? It's like, when I think reason me and you worked so well together because there was things I saw in you that was just like me when I first started there. You know, is there's things like you can't, and I was very fortunate to have really good coworkers around that would work me through some of these things, but you can't take things personal, you know, so because people are going through things. So those are the things, coaching moments that I have to do with some of my younger staff or newer staff. It's like, hey, it's not about you, it's about what they're going through. If you lay at night in the bed, they're laying in and think about what they're thinking about, you might have a different perspective on it, you know. But also a humbling thing is one of my coworkers mentioned this, and she wasn't talking about me when she said this. She said it about another person that was always wanting to talk about, oh yeah, I did this for the client, but when the client didn't do something right, yeah, they just didn't do it. And her thing was, it's like, if you're going to own the successes, you have to own the failures.
Exactly.
You know, it's like their successes aren't our successes to own, and their failures aren't our successes. Or our failures aren't their failures to own either. You know, which really helped things out because I think in the helping field, for me anyways, I felt like I wasn't doing a good enough job if I wasn't getting this person from point A to point B. You know, and they're going to get there at some point. It just may not be in the time that I'm going to witness it. But I think I took that personal, and we can't own that. You know,
No,
we can't own that. So it's just like, hey, just love the person for who they are right now, and as long as you continue showing them love and showing that you're not going to, we may not necessarily give up on them, but their actions may get them to where they're not allowed there. You know, but.
So yeah, we can't own their successes, and we really can't own their failures, right?
Yeah.
And my thought is that I can't make you drink a Coca-Cola when you like Diet Pepsi.
Yeah.
You know, but I can explain to you how much better Coca-Cola is than Diet Pepsi and let you make your own way.
Yeah.
And just because you switch to Coke doesn't mean that I made you good. I just kind of help guide, right? So we're just guides.
Yeah.
We're here to walk that journey no matter. And what I found was there's so many different pathways. No two are ever the same, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like there's nothing tailor-made. We have to be able to pivot in the moment, right? And it's like, but the thing is that I think one of the most things that I guess humble me more than anything is when people come up to me and they're like, I wouldn't be where I am today if you hadn't said that to me 5 years ago. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what did I say? I had no clue.
Yeah.
And I remember a lot of people, don't get me wrong, and I don't mean this in a bad way or anything, but there's so many people out there that we help that it never occurred to me that I had that one conversation with that individual and that was pivotal to them. So we never know. We never know. But I guarantee you they're always watching.
Yeah.
Always. But it's not ours to claim. It's just ours to give away. And because you know what, when you said something a while ago, that when you tell your people, you know, imagine what you're thinking when you're laying in your bed or what they're thinking when they're laying in your bed. You and I have laid in those beds.
Yeah.
We've been there. We know exactly what's going on, you know, and so I think that doesn't make us any better than anybody else. I think it just allows us to understand an understanding that you can't teach.
It's all about the connection. And that's what I love about where we work is because they do take the chance on people with lived experience and they hire them because we can, when they say you don't know what it's like, especially when we were in the program where we worked at, my bunk, that's where I was at. I'd point to the bunk. I was like, I was in that bunk right there.
Yeah.
You know, and then me and the intern, we built a wall of hope where we had all of these different, we have the people with lived experience that would be willing to put their stuff up there. But then all these different celebrities who went through the same thing. It's like, look, they went through it too. They're successful. Your diagnosis, your whatever you want to call it, there's a labels that don't define you. You can do all of these things too. You know, so it was just basically just telling them, like, yeah. And they'll be like, hey, you work here now? It's like, that's awesome.
Right.
It didn't work for everybody, but it worked for people too. They say, hey, if you can do it, I can do it too. It's like, yeah, you can do it better.
Part of what I do is I go in and I visit with people in Bear County that are homeless that want to talk about making changes, right? And yesterday I was talking to a guy and we were talking about our addictions, right? And he talked about how he drank and he did this and he had mushrooms and then he started doing meth. And I said, well, what were you using when you got arrested? He said, meth. I said, yeah. I said, it's funny how, when we get on meth, we don't do anything else. It's just meth. And he said, that's it right there. He said, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's how we connect.
Yeah.
It's how we connect with them. And it doesn't like gain 100% trust. But I would rather talk to you, Kevin, about my history when you say, yeah, I friggin' drove a car off the road because I was drunk and wanted to die and just done, right? I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I didn't drive a car off the road, but I've been there, right? I can relate to that. Or if you came to me and said, well, I've been studying this for 20 years and the book says that you this. I'm like, hey, you don't even know what I'm talking about, do you? Have you ever, one time somebody rear-ended me at a red light. No, you don't know what I'm talking about, man. And you're right. They take the chance on the shared living and experience people. And we can train people that are book smart. We can teach them what we do. But the important thing is that they have to allow us to be there and do that because we can help people.
Yeah.
We do. And man, I greatly appreciate everything that So I got to tell everybody, right? So there's two people at Hendon that walk around really, really fast. He walks around really, really fast, and I can't keep up with him, but I kind of walk around fast. But he walks around. I mean, he's always move, always. And no matter when I see you or what I see you doing, I know that you have one thing in your mind, and that is, what am I going to do next to help somebody?
Yeah.
It's not about you. I've heard you go to the rafters about things that you believe strongly in, and I think that it's really cool because I know that when you speak about something and you put your heart into it, and you're like, I think it's this. It's not you that thinks that; it's your heart, and it's only because you want to help people.
And we both know too, because we're in this because somebody helped us too.
Exactly.
And it was it's the paying it forward. It's like this. If I could do my work for free, I would. I mean, so sometimes I feel a little bit like a hypocrite because I get paid to do what I do, but I also know I can go other places and do something else too. Because it does drain you when you go through it and you see how hard people are struggling and they don't have to struggle because there's a way away from that, but they have to figure that out on their own. You have not really on their own. You could keep on coaching them, but until they figure it out, they're going to maybe be doing
and it hurts to see that sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're right, it is draining. There is a certain amount of emotional currency that we spend on our job. But we got a mighty God and we got a good God. And you know what he does when I get emotionally drained like that, he puts somebody in front of me like the guy that said, hey man, what you said to me 5 years ago made a difference, right? And that brings that emotional currency back to me and gives me more, so I'm okay, I'm recharged. Because dude, going to work, I find joy in going to work because I know where I'm going, I know what I'm about to be doing. And it's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I definitely, I definitely enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
And there's some changes coming up for me that have me a little bit kind of, we'll talk more about that down the road, but I truly believe that I've learned how to discern, what God wants me to do. And I'm not changing anything I'm doing. I'm basically expanding on I'm doing.
Yeah.
I believe.
You're expanding it and you're giving the opportunity to more than others that we have in front of us. If that makes sense.
No.
It's like you're giving that opportunity to all of the community instead of just some of the community that can come.
Right. Well, so not that I'm doing it, but let's just say I was to leave my job, right? There's a person that I know that's probably going to take that place that gets to learn as much as I learned in that job because I couldn't do what I'm doing now without the things that I've learned, right? And we're ever growing, ever expanding, being of our addicted nature, we need a challenge every day. It's not like we just don't do well when it's like, stuck. I mean, I could not work at a motor plant and put the same screw in. I just wouldn't work for me at all. So we do expand like that, but I mean, it's like that. We have to make room for those that come below us and are coming behind us or whatever, however you want to say it, so that they can learn, so that they can continue. And because we're people in recovery, and there's not enough of us out there that are speaking boldly about our recovery. But I hope that soon it becomes mainstream.
And that's the whole thing is I totally, from being in an addiction, I've always been open about my stuff, but I totally understand the people being anonymous about it because of the judgment behind there. But I always said, it's like, imagine if everybody in recovery wasn't anonymous or felt like they had to be anonymous about it, and they could share openly without judgment how much their life has changed, how many more people we would be able to reach.
Well, the anonymous part of that stuff, okay, let's just call it what it is, right? I think that's a hindrance to our recovery and to the recovery world, because yes, anonymous, but I think, and I have, in full disclosure, I have kind of been looking at some of these things, studying a little bit about these things, and I think that the anonymous part of the program was not intended for everybody to continuously be, I think it's for the newcomer. I think it's to protect the newcomer. But I think once they get there, and once they get a hold of their recovery and stuff, I think that, and you're right, I mean, there's a certain amount of people that, I wouldn't necessarily say, if you're a heart surgeon walking and tell your patient, we're gonna put you under right now, and by the way, I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, but you could say, hey, by the way, but I'm in long-term recovery, been doing it 15 years, so I'm a great heart surgeon. Sounds better when you say it that way, right? So I've tried to change the way that I recently, because I used to always introduce myself as an addict alcoholic. Well, now I will introduce myself. I'm a man in long-term recovery.
Yeah.
Because it's more acceptable to, and I do plan on speaking and becoming more bold in my speech, because I've got to bring this thing to the table.
Yeah.
And people got to know. But I get it. There's, I have a guy that works in financial stuff. He's a big wig at a bank, and I don't necessarily expect him to go to some symposium and say, hey, but he does speak over in meetings.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. He's a great help. But I don't expect people that really aren't comfortable with that to do that. But we got to find all those guys like you and I that don't mind. I mean, dude, I'll go stand on the street with a sign that doesn't say give me a quarter, I need food. It'll be like, I'm in recovery, ask me out,
Yeah.
Stuff like that, because I think that we should be bold about our recovery. So where does Kevin see Kevin in 10 years?
Whew. Hopefully still alive.
Yeah.
Hopefully still sober, clean and sober.
Of course.
With God's grace, I'll have 15 years on Wednesday the 28th. And hopefully still doing what I'm doing. And, when I say that, I mean hoping, like being in a place where I could help other people. That's the thing. It's like, I love where I work. I mean, my dad was always one that taught me loyalty. It's like, if somebody takes a chance on hiring you, you do the best you can for them because they took that chance. You proved to them that they were right. And so I had that loyalty part in me there, but also, you never know. Just like God led me down the road to get there, and He might lead me down a different road too.
Okay, well, here's the deal. The reason I asked you 10 years, right? I always have these things in my head, right? So, okay, so in 10 years, you're going to come celebrate 25 years on my podcast.
Okay.
And hopefully my podcast is still going. If it's not, you'll have to call me and say, Todd, you want to do it 25 years. I'm a little older now, but you're going to have to revive that podcast because we got to do our thing.
Yeah.
And let's get together. Let's make a date for that.
Okay.
And because I feel pretty confident that we're both going to be heading down the same road that we're down. If we both live, of course, if God allows that. But that would be cool. That would be really cool to go, hey, you know what? Here we are.
Yeah, that would be.
We'll touch base many times between now.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm just talking about, okay, so I'm gonna put you on the calendar. You're my first long-term calendar schedule.
Okay.
We'll do that because I love recovery. I love talking about recovery. So you got the floor for about however long you want to take, and just tell everybody in the world, it's the whole world out there, what you want to tell them.
This is coming from a person who's had a lot of suicide ideation. I'll try to tell everybody as lonely as you feel in your addiction, as lonely as you feel to that point where you're trying to take your own life, there is somebody out there that loves you. It might be a complete stranger, but they love you. And there is worth and value and continue in your life. It's a hard struggle. It's not easy to get down the road of recovery, but it's worth every step. I see, like, I've gone through very hard things in my recovery. You know, I've lost many of people that I really cared about in life, had relationships break up, but the thought of going back to drinking or using drugs has never crossed my mind because I knew it was just gonna make it that much worse if I did that. Now I'm gonna lose the job I have, I'm gonna lose the apartment I have, I'm gonna lose relationship with my brother possibly, you know, my niece is getting married in a couple of months, you know, like if I was still partying, I wouldn't be a part of that, or I would be, but more likely an embarrassment at the reception, you know, because that's just how I was.
Been there, done
You
that.
know, but there's always that person out there. There's always more to what you're feeling right at that time. And just gonna throw this out there too, which I will tell people, if you're thinking about suicide and you don't think anybody would care or think about it, go to an Out of the Darkness suicide prevention walk. And you will see all of the people walking in support of the ones that they've lost to suicide and how many people are there and how much it has impacted them. So
Okay,
that's
cool.
just a
All
little
right.
message.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank
We're
you.
gonna have to get back and get together again on my hydro, remember?
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna have to get back together again sometime.
Yes, sir.
And, cause there's just so much more that we wanna talk about. So I'll let you head out and I will see you soon. Very
All
soon.
right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the podcast. I'll be back next Saturday. Hopefully, I will be in my new spot next Saturday with our new studio and our new meeting place. It's going to be 11622 Elsendero Boulevard. On June 1st at 2:30, we're going to be having a open house, kind of to let everybody in to see our new meeting place and see what it looks like. Will it be complete? I don't know. But we're gonna open it anyway. We're just gonna go with what we got. So I look forward to seeing y'all show up, and y'all have a great day. Thank you for tuning in.